people have a right to is the expectation that if someone's going to throw out a charge, that it's substantiated. It's not just by implication. In this McCarthy way, you say, among other things that I'm quoting now, surely Sessions wouldn't try to resegregate the American armed forces in which he served. Really? Jonathan Allen, surely you wouldn't batter a child. What does that mean?
Well, no, you're right, I wouldn't.
No, but nobody suggested he would resegregate the armed forces.
Well, Jeff Sessions has been opposed to the Voting Rights Act in the past.
Opposed? Is that the same as resegregating the American armed forces?
Well,
I mean, that's a really appalling thing to say about somebody.
It's interesting exchange involving Tucker Carlson of Fox News and roll call columnist Jonathan Allen. Now, it springs from the column that Allen wrote last week that, quite frankly, looked as if they were talking points for the Democrat National Committee. The new charge from the left that Attorney General designate Jeff Sessions is racist. Ever since that news last week that Senator Sessions of Alabama accepted Donald Trump's offer of Attorney General, the dominant media culture has been throwing a tantrum and bandying about all sorts of unfair accusations. So with that as a pretext, let's welcome back John Bogman, who joins me here on our national anchor desk, my colleague from Newsmax TV, and via Skype, retired special agent with the INS, Michael Cutler. Michael Cutler, of course, a real border watchdog. He testified before the 9/11 Commission during my days in Congress. And Michael, before we get to all these outrageous accusations, isn't the left really concerned about Jeff Sessions as a border hawk and taking on these sanctuary cities?
Absolutely, he is. By the way, thanks for having me, and I wish you and everybody out there happy Thanksgiving coming up. You know, I know Jeff Sessions. He actually quoted me from the floor of the Senate on several occasions during the last push for comprehensive reform back in '07, when I wrote a commentary in which I described it as the Terrorist Assistance and Facilitation Act. Sessions isn't even only concerned about the border, but about the way our immigration laws are enforced or not enforced, the impact that it has on national security, the jobs of Americans. He chairs this subcommittee in the judiciary on immigration and the national interest. And by the way, I really wonder how Democrats can proclaim themselves to be pro-working American when American jobs, if they haven't been sent out of the country, are now being done by foreign nationals in the United States. You know, at times, Jeff Sessions sounds more like a 50s Democrat than anything else. It's outrageous that they would attack his character or his record. This is the guy that took on the KKK in Alabama. This is the guy that supported desegregating the schools, working closely with Rudy Giuliani, who at the time was the third highest ranking member of the Justice Department in Washington when he was a federal prosecutor in Alabama. It's scandalous, the accusations, in my judgment.
John Bogman, you referred to Sessions' history. It's very interesting, because you go back, and Hal Heflin, one of the old-line Democrats to Michael Cutler refers, as a senator from Alabama during the Reagan era, Jeff Sessions was up for a federal judgeship. Hal Heflin put the kibosh on that. And in the fullness of time, as Heflin was leaving the United States Senate and Sessions had entered elective politics as the Attorney General of Alabama, he ran for the U.S. Senate and won that seat that used to be occupied by Hal Heflin. How great a threat does the left perceive Jeff Sessions?
Well, there's a couple of things going on here, and I'm really quite surprised you don't hear members of the left calling him Jeff Secessionist. By the way, they try to throw him back into history. But one thing I'm a little disappointed about Jeff Sessions as the AG is he has to try to do a lot of things in terms of deficit control while he's in the U.S. Senate, and we hate to lose that. As you mentioned earlier in the show, JD, we want to see the government spending come down. That'll hopefully be still part of this Trump campaign. But what we're seeing with the left and their whatever shade they're throwing towards Jeff Sessions, I think has more to do with pettiness of losing the election, and they're trying to continue to stoke the identity politics, which didn't yield out any results in terms of a election win for them in this cycle, but they're going to continue to beat that drum with the next election just 2 years away in Congress.
Well, Michael Cutler, there's more to it as well, and I admit it's coming up the midterm, John, but Brother Cutler, when I hear Chuck Schumer make a statement, hey, I like Jeff, I see him down in the gym, and now it can be told, when I used to see Schumer in the House gym, his nickname was Chuckles. That's what I used to call him. We can't chuckle about Schumer now as the Senate Democrat leader. They're engaged in kind of a political kabuki dance or worse, kind of sumo wrestling, trying to shove, looking for leverage. And they're going after Sessions, I feel, not only because of this whole, this false race issue, but Michael, I believe that Schumer is terrified that Sessions is going to come after these sanctuary cities as Attorney General, saying, my role is to faithfully enforce the law, to make sure the laws are faithfully executed, and those billions of dollars, getting back to spending that John talked about, those billions of dollars, I think Sessions will do his best to cut off in concert with President Trump after January 20th.
Oh, I agree with you. And let's go back to the 9/11 Commission that you mentioned at the beginning of our segment. You know, the 9/11 Commission identified first and foremost failures of the immigration system that enabled not only the 9/11 hijackers, they looked at a total of 94 terrorists operating in the United States in the decade leading up to 9/11, and almost all of them had committed visa fraud, violated immigration statutes. What's really remarkable, though, I don't know if you're aware of this, but just 2 days short of the 5th anniversary of the bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993, Dianne Feinstein came up with many of the same suggestions at a hearing held by the Senate Intelligence Committee on foreign terrorists operating in the United States. And she said, you know, maybe we shouldn't be giving visas to aliens who come from countries that sponsor terrorism. We should probably take a hard look at the visa waiver program. We probably shouldn't be educating citizens of those countries to teach them how to become nuclear physicists and biochemists, because that's how they're going to make weapons of mass destruction. It was palatable in 1998. Schumer has been the leader, if you will, the ringleader of the Gang of Eight, or eight gangsters, as I call them. So really, when you look at what Jeff Sessions wants, it's antithetical to what Chuck Schumer wants. But what Chuck Schumer wants is antithetical to national security and the best interests of the United States. And I'm just hoping that all of these mayors of all these sanctuary cities go the way of Hillary Clinton and find themselves out looking for a new job when their election day comes around.
Well, the political dynamic at work there is, how are you going to say, gee, I value non-citizens over citizens? I don't think that's going to work when it comes to municipal politics, but there's something else going on, John, that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up. Yeah. We've got what Michael has mentioned with the sanctuary cities. Meantime, here we are in the closing days of the Obama administration, and Homeland Security has suspended the aerial overflights of our southern border. Yep. Now, you take a look at this. Let me get John in on this first, then we'll get you, Michael.
And this is dangerous. There's the economic aspect of immigration reform, which is desperately needed, so those jobs can be available for Americans and who have citizenship. But the other issue, and this is the one that I was somewhat surprised when I would talk to voters, they are so concerned about border security, and this is clearly an issue of border security. And again, this seems like the Obama administration putting their own personal priorities ahead of the country and even their own party, because there will be repercussions if anything happens as a result.
Yeah, a final word to you on this, Michael, and we only got a couple of minutes left, but I know this is near and dear to your heart. You've got the aerial program shut down. Meantime, you've got a, quote, temporary new facility to handle all the influx of illegals, which are what now, about 1,500 a day? What's happening?
God only knows. We don't even know what and that's without including people running the Canadian border and overstaying visas or violating the terms of their admission. You know, if you look at Latin America, it's a hotbed. You have terror training camps in the tri-border region of Brazil where it abuts with Paraguay and Argentina. Likely members of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, and Hamas are operating in the tri-border region of Brazil. We know that Iranian shock troops are going to Venezuela on a weekly basis on direct flights. That border needs to be secured along with the rest of the immigration system. But I just hope that in this discussion, we don't lose sight of the need for interior enforcement.
And I think
if we don't have interior enforcement, we're in trouble.
Michael raises a great point. I think what is critically important here is that people know that the immigration system is not working, and they want change, and that's partly why a lot of Democrats, including Michael, voted for Donald Trump, because they want to see some sort of change, something improve in our immigration system.
And yeah, I'm just going to throw that out to you, Michael. We've got about a minute left. You have made mention of the fact that when I first met you, you said, I'm a Democrat, but I'm from border security. Do you believe those in leadership, and it doesn't seem that way with Schumer right now, but will they ever get it that, wait a minute, you can't bring in new voters, you got to secure the border. This is our national security. Final 30 seconds to you, Michael Cutler.
Sure. Barbara Jordan, the Jordan Commission, she was a Democrat. You know, her position on immigration marches lockstep with most Americans. Look, they're playing politics with American lives, and if you really want to know how secure the border is, look at the heroin flooding American cities across the country and consider if they got their way and legalized all these aliens, they'd be able to bring their millions of kids to the United States. It would wreak havoc on the educational system. At what point did the Democrats wake up and understand this isn't a left-right issue, but a right-wrong issue, and really do what's essential for America and Americans? That's the question I'd love to see them answer.
Michael Cutler, Skyping in tonight from New York City. Michael, we appreciate it very much. John Bogman, as always, here on our national anchor desk. Your insights and analysis are equally appreciated. So the message is really clear. At the outset of the program, we talked about closing down departments. No, people want the border shut down. Back with more after this.